In this video, we're going to review how to write an argumentative paper. What we're going to do is we're actually going to review using the topic that we began our year with, and our topic is, should food be Americanized when it's brought to the United States? And what we're going to do is we're going to go through each piece and we're going to write this paper together. Now, since I am very confident that you guys are good at writing an argumentative paper, I'm not going to actually write on the outline. I'm going to refer to it, but I'm going to jump right into typing this paper. So the first thing we need to do is, of course, we need to take a side. And remember, when we're writing an argumentative paper, we cannot be in the middle. We have to either be on one side or the other. So if it becomes a topic where you don't really care what side you're on, then your job is to pick the side that's the easiest to write about. So for this, I'm going to actually be on the side that I think food should be Americanized when it's brought to the United States. So once I've chosen my side, my first thing I need to do is I need to create a hook sentence. And remember, a hook sentence is to get my reader's attention. And we have 6 different types of hooks that we talked about. We talked about you could simply ask a question. In fact, I could just ask the prompt. I could say, should food be Americanized when it's brought to the United States? This is not the best hook, but it is a hook nonetheless, and it's still better than nothing. A better hook would be either an onomatopoeia, where like, your mouth burns as you crunch into the spicy taco. Or you could have like a story, or you could have a statistic. So if a fact stands out in the article that really catches my interest, I could use it. Those are just a few different types of hooks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a story, and I'm going to write something like, as you crunch into the delicious taco you just pulled out of the oven, you start to think about all of the changes that the taco has endured since it has entered into the U.S. This is just one example of a food that has been improved when it was brought into America. Okay, my next thing I need to do, so that's my hook sentence, and it leads me into my thesis statement. And remember, our thesis tells a reader what the whole entire paper is going to be about. This is where I give the side that I'm on, and all I simply have to do, this is a very, very easy sentence to write, all I have to do is restate and answer this question. So when I restate and answer, I'm going to put food should be Americanized when it's brought to the United States. My next thing I need to do is I need to come up with a preview. And a preview is my ideas. It's 3 ideas of why I feel the way I feel. So I'm coming up with 3 ideas of why I think food should be Americanized when it's brought to the United States. And remember, when I create a preview, I'm actually going to restate a lot of the thesis. And I can change a few words. It needs to definitely stay the same meaning. So I'm going to put something like food should be changed when it's brought to the U.S. because it allows Americans to try different cultures. It keeps traditions relevant to Americans, and it improves food. My next job, if I go back to my outline, is to come up with my topic sentence. And remember, our topic sentence is yellow because it comes right from my preview. So my first body paragraph is going to have a topic sentence from my first point in my preview. So basically, I'm going to restate this all the way up to right there, my first comma. I'm going to say food should be Americanized when it is brought to the United States because it allows Americans to try different cultures. So my next job is I need a piece of text evidence that proves that food allows Americans to try different cultures. So if I go back to my article and I skim through my article, I'm going to find a sentence right here. Okay, notice how I have a couple different sentences I found. And remember, when I'm writing a paper in English, my goal is to paraphrase whenever I can. So I have a couple sentences, and I'm going to try to figure out how can I put this in my own words. But remember, before I do that, I need to give credit to my author or my title. So at the beginning of the year, we talked about ways to find the author of your article. So one way would be to look at top. Notice how we do have an author here. If you can't find it up top, you'd look at the end of the article. And if there is no author, sometimes articles are written and they don't list the author, then you definitely have to use the title. Most Most of the time I prefer to use the author instead of the title if there's an author because it's shorter, but you could use a title instead of the author if you'd rather. When I list the author, remember I have to give the author's last name. I can't just use a first name because there's all kinds of Lauren, but there's all kinds of Laurens in the world. But Tarshish is a very unique name, and most people's last names are very unique, and that allows a reader to look up your author if they want to get more information. So I'm going to put something like according to Tarshish, and basically I can paraphrase what I underlined by saying Americans were reluctant to try the taco before Bell Americanized it. Okay, now my next thing, if I go back to my outline, is I need to explain how does my text evidence prove my topic sentence. Okay, so how does my text evidence prove that Americanizing foods allows Americans to try different cultures? So I'm going to put this proves how Americanizing the taco allowed Americans to be exposed to the Mexican culture. Next thing I need to do is I need to repeat this process, and the part that I'm going to use is this part. And again, I'm going to paraphrase this. And I need to still give credit to the author. And I already used according to Tarshish. And if you look at the poster on the whiteboard, or if you look in your interactive notebook, you'll see there's all kinds of ways to give credit to the author. This time I'm going to put something like Tarshish states that most of the food in America has originated from a different culture. Again, my next job is to, if we look at our outline, is to explain how does this prove my topic sentence. So I'm going to put something like this shows, because I already used this proves once, so I want to change it up. And again, this is on that poster that's magnetized to the whiteboard. This shows that most of the food that Americans eat is exposing them to different cultures. Now, my next job is to come up with a topic sentence for body paragraph 2. And of course, this topic sentence comes from our second point in our preview. So it's going to be this right here. So again, I'm going to restate my beginning of my preview. Notice how I keep using food. We use food over and over and over. So this time I'm going to try to figure out how can I change food to something different. And when you look at these synonyms, sometimes there isn't a lot of good synonyms for food. Like I don't agree with any of these, but I know when I really think about it, the food, I could also call it cuisine. And changed. I use changed a lot. I'm going to put altered. When it enters America because it keeps traditions relevant to Americans. Now, when I'm typing and talking and making a video, a lot of times I mistype things. But my point is when you turn a paper in, you should not have any red underlines. The only reason you should have a red underline is because you're using a word that Google doesn't recognize, for instance, an author's name, something like that. But if you have a red underline, that's like a free way of fixing it, and that's a free way to get points. So please don't turn something in with red underlines. Okay, so we're going through this process again. I'm going to give credit to my author, and I need to go back to the article and find a place in there that proves my point. It proves it keeps traditions alive. And I'm actually going to use this article by Swarns. And one thing I want to talk about, and some of you guys are good at doing this, but you can use an article that is not on your side. You can pick parts out. You can't change the idea, but you can pick parts out from an author and use it to prove your side. For instance, this article, if you read this article or if you remember this article is actually proven that food should not be Americanized as brought to the United States. But this author makes a couple points that proves my point, and I am more than welcome to use it. But this time I'm going to quote this because she says it well. She really does say that. I mean, it feeds right into what I'm trying to say. Now, when I quote, the one thing that makes quoting different from paraphrasing is I need a page number. So I need to look for a page number for this, and there it is. It's page 21. So I'm going to put something like Swarns writes on page 21. Now I'm quoting. I need quotation marks. Over generations, palates evolve and customs fade. My next job is I need to explain how does this prove that food should be Americanized, brought to the United States because it keeps traditions alive. Now, I want to say that another thing that you can do if you really feel like you're good at this, start using these transition words. Furthermore, additionally, on the other hand, so these really, really help your paper flow better. Also, all these type of transition words. One thing I do want to point out is how you do not have to stick with one sentence for text evidence or your exclamations. Just because there's like one line on the outline. For instance, notice how my exclamation here, this is two sentences. I could have two or three sentences. It doesn't have to be one sentence. We're going to continue this video by talking about how to create a conclusion paragraph. The first portion of the video was actually a video that I created for my class last year. And I gave them an assignment where they had to continue this essay just as a review. The purpose of this video is to give you tools to be able to go through your extreme sports paper and be able to make the corrections and to feel confident that you will be able to write a well-written 5-paragraph essay when you retake on Wednesday. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to visit this outline that we've been working on, and we are going to skip past the third body paragraph because I do feel like if you know how to write a first body paragraph and a second body paragraph, it's the same exact steps for the third body paragraph. So I feel like by this point that you guys probably get the idea of how to write body paragraphs. So we're going to skip to this conclusion. Now notice the conclusion. This is the easiest paragraph in the whole paper because this paragraph has been written for you already. Notice how first thing we need to do is we need to restate the thesis. So basically, you're just going to re-say what you said right here in the introduction paragraph. You're just going to restate your purple sentence. When you restate the purple sentence, the first thing you're going to need to do though is add a conclusion starter. So remember our conclusion starters, we could put something like in conclusion clearly as you can see. So I'm going to put something like in conclusion, food should be Americanized when it is brought to the U.S. If we take a look at our outline, our next job is we're going to restate the preview. And again, this is simply restating what you had for your preview in your introduction paragraph. Now, we should eventually get to the point where we reword the thesis and preview a little bit so it doesn't bore our readers. At this point, I'm happy if you just restate the same preview, but eventually we're getting so we want to reword it. But we do need to be careful to make sure that we keep all three reasons. So for this one, remember we said food should be altered when it is brought into America because it allows us to try different cultures, it keeps traditions alive, and it improves food. If we take a look at our outline, the last thing we need to do is we need to create a clincher sentence. And a clincher sentence is just one or two sentences to really leave an impression on your readers. So basically, you want to make readers remember this paper for the rest of their lives. And the best way to do that is to turn it around on the reader. So how does this really apply to the reader? So a good way to always start a clincher would be something like, the next time you, and this one here, of course, relates to food, so this relates to everybody. So I can say the next time you visit a restaurant, think about how much the food has changed since it's been brought to the United States. So what I need you to do is I need you to go through your extreme sports paper, and I need you to take a look at the comments I put in and read the comments and fix the comments. And then when you come up to lunch on Wednesday to retake your paper, you and I will go over your paper that you fixed, and then I'll give you a new topic, and you can get started on it Wednesday at lunch, and then you can keep working on it in SOAR at home or before or after school. And then when you turn your new paper in, I will update your grade. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on this extreme sports paper, or you can talk to me in class.